Hey guys, it's Tackle Freak here, and welcome to episode 41 of my custom story creation tutorial for Amnesia Rebirth. And today we're going to be talking about cutscenes. So this is going to be the continuation of the last episode. We started talking about how you can see animations and play them, and kind of start playing certain kinds of animations in the game. Today we're going to talk about cutscene animations specifically. So there will be a bit of an explanation as to what it is, but first I want to kind of recap what we did in the last episode, and then we'll take it from there and start showing you guys how to run some functions that do certain things for the cutscenes and stuff. So it's going to be a cool episode, so let's go ahead and get started. So let's talk about a quick recap about last episode. So in the last episode, I showed off this spreadsheet I made for everybody to reference. I'm going to put it in the link in the description. It's in the last video as well. Again, I highly encourage watching the last video if you didn't watch it already. It is good to know about the animations and stuff. We will be using them in future episodes as well. So this is the spreadsheet. It has all the animations that are in the game for the player body. Here, these can only be played on the player's body, and any of these can be chosen and played if you have the correct player model. And to again recap on the player model, if we go to entities here, entities, character, and then we go player, and then player body. There's a folder here called animations that has all those animations that you saw there in that spreadsheet. And there's different player bodies. There's like the regular default player body, which is just player. There's like player 4, which is 4-month pregnant Tassie. Then there's player 6, which is like 6-month pregnant Tassie. And they have a few here, and a majority of them have the basic player animations like walking, crouching, and stuff like that. But some of them have a few extra ones that the others don't. Typically pertaining to the story, but if there is a player body that has a specific animation that you want, or if you're using a specific player body for your story, you might want to make sure that it's in the player body. So the way we do that is we're going to go ahead and open it. I'm opening this with the model editor. The model editor can be found in the root directory of your Amnesia Rebirth folder. So that's right here, model editor. I have .ent files. This is player.ent. I have .ent files opening by default with the model editor. If you could do the same thing, you can have it open with model editor if you want, but you can just easily open the model editor and then go file, open, and look for the file. So then what we did, we went ahead and we added a texture to Tassie's arms here. They don't have a texture here in the player body. So I just go ahead and add a simple gray animation, color to it under textures, technical, and simple gray. That way we can see the arms when we play the animation. And then we click on the gears right here. We hit edit animations, and then we can go ahead and start playing some of these animations, and we can see them working right away, like running animations and whatnot, and the arm movements and whatnot. So that's pretty much the way we can play animations and the way we can look for animations. And you can also type in here what you want. So if you want something like, we just type in up, you can see like wake up from death, and that has an animation here. So let me make sure my volume is also down here, or else I'm going to accidentally play some sound here. So with all of that covered now, let's go ahead and talk about the differences between cutscenes and just playing a regular animation. So in the last episode, we played regular animations. When you play animations, you can still control the player when we played it using the functions we did last time, which is just player body _ play animation, and the player will be able to still control their player body, but an animation will play. In the last episode, we did an example where like Tassie covers her face from like a sandstorm, but we used it in a different setting, and we showed how we can use that and cover, how she can cover her face and walk through some flames. Again, check out the last episode if you haven't. Definitely some important stuff there. But today we'll be talking about cutscene animations, and cutscenes pretty much limit the player's ability to do anything in the cutscene. It limits how they can look around. They can't look too far up, too far down, too far left, too far right. They are locked into kind of like a certain direction to look at, and they're locked in on Tassie's head, or the head of the player, whatever model you use. It's locked into the head, and it can only look around in that small window that you allow them to look around. There is a default, so you don't have to set any, but we will be talking about how you can change how much they can look around. And and then the whole animation will play. Typically, it will just play, and then it'll finish, and then you can go ahead and regain control of the player. But during the whole cutscene animation, you are unable to control the player. So let's actually go ahead and play a cutscene here, and kind of show you guys what it looks like. I can explain this all day, but if you guys don't know what it looks like, it might not make too much sense. So let's go ahead and do that. What we're gonna do today, we're gonna play a certain animation here, and I will copy and paste it here into the filter here so that we can see it beforehand. And it is, I'll go ahead and back this up here. It is Spooked Fallback Perma-Fail Ghoul Encounter. And this is going to be a setup for an animation I kind of wanted to add to our tutorial custom story that we're doing here. So let's go ahead and play it here. We'll do the search, and we'll go ahead and play it so you guys can see what we're doing here. So it's like Tassie falling back and then turning around, and then she looks like at her hands, and then you're supposed to normally perma-fail here. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna follow this up with like a chase. So let's talk about how I want to use this animation. So I'm gonna go ahead and open up the level editor here for my level. We're gonna go ahead and clear this area here. And we're gonna actually use that in a moment when we start talking about these. So what I plan on doing, what I wanted to do is a scare here. When my thought is the player is going to go down, like progress down, find some kind of a key or something. We don't actually have a key yet, but we're going to go down here and find some key or something. Actually, we do have a key, but we haven't placed it down in the bottom level here. But the player will go down here, they'll look around, they'll find a key which directs them to open this door here, right? And then my thought is the player is going to come over here to open this door. And then when they get over here to open the door is just gonna blow open. The ghoul's gonna be right behind there, and the player, I want Tassie to kind of like jump back, fall, turn around, and then it'll start the chase. It'll start the like a ghoul chase. So that's kind of what I'm thinking here, and that's why I want to use this specific animation here, and that's this one right here. And it's, you know, again, it's her kind of falling back, turning around, and then like running away. So definitely a good animation to use here, and we'll talk about more how we do that. First, let's go ahead and play an animation, just kind of check out what it looks like. So we'll go ahead and open up our CodeLight application here. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a new trigger area. We tend to reuse this trigger area a lot, but for the purposes of today's video, I think it's better if we use a trigger area here. So let's go ahead and open up our level editor, and let's go ahead and set one up. And I'm thinking of putting one like right around here near the front of this door for when the player gets close to the door. So let's go ahead and go to areas here, and we want to use a trigger area here. And then we'll go ahead and play it. We'll go ahead and draw it out here. Let's do something kind of like this. Yeah, something like that. So when they get close to the door, maybe let's back it up a little bit and stretch it a little bit. So let's go ahead and like make it one more size larger here. Let's rotate here, make it one size larger, and then we'll push it up against here. So I think that's okay. And then let's go ahead and give it a name. So we'll call it trigger, or a trigger door. Let's call it door scare. I think door scare sounds pretty good. We'll call it door scare, and then we will go ahead and go to collide callbacks here. And when the player collides with this trigger area here, we want to go ahead and run a function in our script, and we'll use the convention. So we'll say on collide, and then we'll say underscore player underscore, and then the trigger area name that they're colliding with. So it's going to be trigger, door, scare. So again, on collide, player is what they're colliding with, and then trigger, door, scare. And then what we're gonna do now is we're gonna hit copy right here. We're gonna go open up our CodeLight application here, and then we're gonna go ahead and paste this somewhere. This is the one we did in the last episode here. So let's go ahead and put it like right above it, just so we kind of have it here to look at. And we'll go ahead and kind of readjust these here. Just to get them formatted, and there's nothing else we need to do to this top part. We can go ahead and start putting stuff in here. So we're gonna copy pretty much the same thing as last time. We're gonna check for the all state. So we're gonna say if we'll go ahead and open and close that. All state equals 1. Again, when we're checking for all state, if all state is equal to 1, that means that the player just entered the area, and we do want to play this animation when the player enters the area. So we do want it to play in here. Otherwise, if there's anything else, which means that the player leaves the area, then we can just go ahead and return false here. So we're going to be returning false here and here as well. If we return false, that pretty much means that when the player enters the area or leaves the area, the collide callback here will be removed, and the collide callback will be removed here, and it won't run again. And of course, that's what we want. We only want this animation to play the first time that the player enters this area, so we will be setting these to false here. So with that, we have all the setup done to go ahead and start playing the animation now. So let's go ahead and talk about the function we're going to be using to play the animation. So that's going to go ahead and be player body underscore, and then we're going to say play cutscene animation. And that's going to be this one right here, play cutscene animation. We will also be talking about this other one here, play cutscene at entity. Both are very useful for their own things, so we will talk about both of these. So we'll go ahead and go down. We're going to talk about this one first, and this one's typically used when you want to play a cutscene at exactly where the player is. Although you can kind of use this one and this one interchangeably, because player is an entity, and you can specify position on the play cutscene animation here. So you can technically use them both in the exact same way, but play cutscene animation is better for just playing cutscene when where the player is at, while this one is better when you want to play at a specific entity. But we will be talking about both. So we're going to go ahead and use this one here, play cutscene animation. There are a lot of values that go here. There's actually 2 more that don't appear here that I will also mention. You can see that here you have AB fade speed, AB ignore yaw, and I'll mention those 2, but you can see there's only descriptions up until angle here. So I will make a quick mention to those as well. So let's go ahead and hit enter here and kind of write out the whole thing here. So we're gonna go ahead and start putting some things in here. First thing we want to put in is the name of the animation. So I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of leave this like this. I'm gonna copy it in a moment. I don't want to type up the whole thing, or else I'm gonna probably type something wrong here. So let's just leave it blank for a second, and we'll go comma space and move on to the next one. This value loop is whether or not you want the cutscene to loop after it plays. After it plays the first time, we do not want it to loop. We just want it to play one time and be done, and that's the the player falling back and stuff. We only want that happening once, so we're gonna set that to false. But if your cutscene needs to loop, you can go ahead and set that to true. Fade time is how much time we want to fade in the animation until the animation starts playing. So what we want to do is we're gonna say 0.3 f. It's good to put a little fade time in the animation just so it looks a little bit more natural rather than just snapping straight to an animation. So I encourage you to put a little bit of time here. Definitely test out what time works best for you. I think 0.3 works very well for this animation specifically, so we're going to put 0.3 here. Next is this is the completed callback. So when this function is done running, it can execute another function for you if need be. I will show you the format for that callback function. For now, let's just leave it blank. If you don't intend to use it, you can go ahead and leave this blank here. And we'll go ahead and put a comma and a space here. Next is the speed at which we're going to play the animation. If you want it to play quicker, you go ahead and change this here. and change this value here. If you want to play slower, you can play it slower. So we're going to go ahead and just set this to 1.0 F here for just playing at regular speed. Then we're going to go ahead and hit comma space here. And this is the position that we want to go ahead and start the animation on. So I think I might have actually said the wrong values for this one in the last episode. I can't recall. I think I said it was seconds. This is actually not the the seconds at which we want to start the animation. This is actually a value between 0 and 1. Which indicates where you're going to be playing the animation. So if you wanted to play, let's say the animation was 5 seconds long, and it was out of 100%, at what percentage would you want to start? If you start at the 20% marker, 20% into the animation, you'd put like 0.2 here. And 1 would be the end of that animation. So 0 is the start, and then 1 would be the end of the animation. So 1 being like 100% completed, 0 being 0% completed, 0.5 being 50% completed, and so on. So if I think I said seconds in the last episode, this is actually a value between 0 and 1. So we're gonna put 0.f here, which just pretty much means we're going to start at the beginning of the animation. Next, if we want to play the animation on the global space, we're going to set this to false here. We don't want it to play on the global coordinates. We just want it to play in our local space. So we're going to set it to false. And then for this one, this is going to be the position that you want to be playing the animation at. So what we want to do in this one is play the animation, play this animation right where the player is standing. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and say clux underscore get player. So this one right here, clux underscore get player. And we're going to say dot get player, get character body. Then we're going to say dot get feet position. I believe we talked about this one in the last episode, but this is the feet position of the player. So the animation will play right where the player is standing. Next, you have to indicate a yaw. A yaw is pretty much an angle, the angle that the player is looking at. This is pretty much the angle left or right of the player. So like, for example, if the player is looking straight in one direction, a yaw of adding 90 to the player's yaw would be 90 degrees to the right, and it can go all the way around to 360. You can also go negative. You can go to negative 360 as well. So this is an angle. What we're gonna do is we're gonna use the player's yaw, and whatever he's looking at, we're gonna play the animation directly in the direction that he's looking at. So we're gonna say clux underscore get player. So we're gonna do the same thing, and then we're gonna say dot get character body, and then we're gonna do dot get yaw. So that's this one right here. So that'll give us the angle at which the player is currently looking at, and that's exactly what we want. We want the animation to play directly in the direction he's looking at. So we're gonna do comma space. And then these are the last two values here that I was talking about, the fade speed and the ignore yaw. These didn't have the description when we looked at the function. Fade speed is whether or not you want the speed to fade at the end of the animation, and ignore yaw is whether or not you want to ignore this yaw here. So if you put this true, it will ignore whatever you put here, and it will ignore any yaw that the player is currently set to, and it will just kind of play whatever the yaw is for the animation, and that's it. So this is good if you want to, if that's something you want to do, but for the most part, both of these are just going to be false. We're going to say false and false, and that's pretty much that's the whole function right there. We still got to put in the name of the animation here, so let's go ahead and do that. I showed you guys which one we're doing, so we'll go ahead and paste that, and that's spooked fallback permafail ghoul encounter. So that's the whole cutscene. That's the whole thing explained. Again, you don't need all these values in here if you wanted to use some defaults. I recommend pretty much using it up to specifying the feet position or the yaw, or if the animation is already aligned in the way that you want, you can go ahead and just leave it playing by default. But if you wanted to see, normally we'd see when we type in the values here, it would tell us which ones are have default values. In this case, this one didn't tell us, so if you wanted to check it out, you can go ahead and right click here, and then you can do go to declaration. Go to declaration here, and it will actually I think I got it wrong, but I think I did the wrong one here. You do this one right here, and you say go to declaration, and it tells you, it takes you right to the helper file where this function is from, and you can see whichever ones have equals pretty much mean that they have a default value. So pretty much the only required ones here is the animation name, whether or not you want it to loop, how much time you want to fade, how much time before the animation fades in. And then after that, none of the values are required, so you don't need to put anything for the completed callback. You don't need to put anything for the speed. All of these have a default value. Only the first 1, 2, and 3 values are required here. The rest have defaults. But of course, there's a lot of these that you probably want to specify. So definitely make sure you use whatever you need to use when you're going to play this cutscene. All right, so now let's go ahead and try running this code here in our game. So I have the game minimized already here, so I'm just gonna go ahead and open it up. I'm not gonna be doing any cuts in this episode for the game, so we'll just keep opening and refreshing it as we make any changes to it. So I'm going to go ahead and hit F5 here to refresh the game and load up our new code. You can also hit escape, go to options, and go game, debug options, and then hit reload. And I'll do the same thing and reload the game. F5 is a shortcut though when you're in debug mode. So we're going to go ahead and walk through, and we're going to walk through this one over here that we created. So let's go ahead and walk through and see what happens. So we'll go ahead and step in, and there is our animation. So she jumps back, she falls, she looks at her hands, and then we just kind of get zipped back to where we were before. So obviously not complete. We definitely need more stuff to happen. We will be doing that full setup for this animation and everything, and this whole break door. But in this episode, we're kind of just demonstrating how we would play the cutscene animation. So let's just do it one more time. So let's go refresh. I just want to see it one more time here. So let's go up. Let's go to right where our trigger area is, and then we'll go ahead and get knocked back. And we'll do that. Actually, I want to show that since we use the player's yaw, whatever direction we're looking at is where the player will play the cutscene. So let's say we walk backwards into this door. Just watch what happens here. We fall backwards. We crawl backwards. Obviously, we have objects here. So this is not a very good place to play the animation. Play this kind of animation. So that worked though. And again, I will play one more time just to keep demonstrating the whole cutscene, the whole idea of this cutscene. So before, if we played this player body animation, we'd get sent back and start crawling on the floor, and we'd have full control of our player with full motion on our camera. But if I do it again, you'll see I can't actually move. I can't actually completely look around all over the place. I have like a limit to how much I can actually look around. So there is limits on it. Obviously, it's a cutscene. It's supposed to kind of immerse you into the game, and you shouldn't be able to control. You shouldn't be able to move around your camera too much, or the player might miss something that's going on. So that's what the difference between a cutscene animation and the regular animation. So let's go ahead and switch back to our CodeLight application here. And what we will do now is we will go ahead and start talking a bit more about these functions here and what else we can do with it. So again, this one is mainly supposed to be used for playing animations on the player, but if we wanted to play the animation at a certain entity, that's definitely possible using that other function that we used. We will save that for after talking about a few more functions here. First, let's talk about how we can kind of customize the cutscene a little bit more by changing a few values, changing the yaw, changing the angle, and also getting some values. So first thing we're gonna do, let's talk about how we can change the player's pitch and the player's yaw. So as you saw, we were pretty limited as to how much we could look around. But let's say you wanted the player to be able to look around more or look around less. You can actually do that here. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and kind of go backwards here. And we're going to set a new yaw and a new pitch just specifically for animations. And I will go ahead and show you guys that right now. So let's say player body underscore. And we're gonna say set cutscene, and then you can see max pitch, max yaw. What we're gonna do is we're gonna actually set these here. You can also reset the camera here, so you can set it to automatically reset the camera after after a cutscene plays and stuff. We aren't going to be talking about these right here, but we will be talking about these two here, and we will actually test these and run these here. So let me go ahead and put these functions here. So we'll write this one out, and we'll go ahead and put the other one as well. We'll say player body, set cutscene, and we'll say max pitch here. And now you only need one float value, which is the amount that will be the max look around angle for the player. So the yaw, again, that's your left and your right. How much the player can look left or right should be an angle between -360 and 360. Again, at the end of the day, it's a circle. So you know, if you do -90, that's the same thing as saying 270. So it's an angle at the end of the day. What we're actually going to do, just to show that this actually works and you can actually do this, we're going to go ahead and put 200F here. So 200.0F. So an angle of 200 is how much the player is going to be able to look at. And then the pitch is the up and down angle that the player can look at. We're going to say the same thing. 200.0F. Again, this is for demonstration purposes. If you wanted to narrow it, you can also narrow it by setting this to like 10, so that the player only has a 10 degree angle that they can actually look around in. But I want to just show that I can like do a complete like turn when we do this. So let's go ahead and open the game here. We'll go ahead and reload the game. And now let's go ahead and interact with that door again. So let's go ahead and do that. And then I'm going to look around. And I don't know if you can tell, I can already look all the way around. I can look way up. I can look way down. Much more than before. Actually, let's even go ahead and show you the limited motion. So let's say we set this to like 1. An angle of 1. This is where pretty much this is going to lock the player's look, and he's not going to be able to see anything. Definitely something you might want to do if you don't want the player to actually look around. I'm pretty sure you can also set this to 0, so the player will have no actual ability to look around. But at that point, you might as well just disable the player's camera at that point, or the player's movement. But let's go ahead and reload the game again, and let's see what that looks like. So we'll go ahead and walk over to the door and walk right into it, and I'm here moving the mouse, and you can see a little jitter because we have a 1 degree angle, but literally we cannot move more than that. So we limited the player's ability to look around there. So that's good stuff. Definitely worth setting that if it's an animation that you want the player to look around more. So definitely use those when you need to use them. For now, we'll just comment them out here. We're gonna leave the defaults. The defaults that are used. If you do set these, I will show you here the function you want to use to reset it. So if you do set any of these, you want to go ahead and say player body underscore, and when you'll say reset, and you can reset the yaw, but the one we're looking for is the one to reset both, and that's this one right here, player body reset cutscene pitch yaw limits. So this will reset both the pitch and the yaw limits that you set. So if we set a max of this and a pitch of this, if we want to go ahead and clear that and just use the defaults again, we can use this function right here, and it will clear it. So if you only wanted this specific yaw and pitch for this animation only, once this animation plays, you know, you can put this function in right after the animation is done playing, and it will go ahead and do that. You might want to put this in the completed callback that we're going to talk about next. But that's a perfectly good way of doing that. That way, if you play another cutscene in the future, it won't have these max yaw and max pitch values here. So we'll go ahead and comment this out as well. I'm not going to demonstrate that one. That one's pretty straightforward. But now let's talk about the completed callback here. Again, all these functions and stuff that I'm talking about today will be in the Pastebin in the description below, so you can always go ahead and check those out there. But I'm going to go ahead and copy something from that Pastebin and paste it right underneath here. So this is the format for the completed callback here. So I'm going to go ahead and paste it and close it out and everything. So the important thing is that it has the constant T string and in as anim, which is as animation. So the format for these is usually are on end of animation. Technically, this whole thing could be whatever you want, but the format that the developers use is on end of animation or anim underscore, and then whatever the animation name you want to give it or whatever. This could be whatever you want. So I can say door break. I think I'm going to say door scare. I think that makes a little more sense. So here we're going to do door scare, and what we're going to do is we're going to copy this function name right here, and we're going to paste that right here. So when this cutscene plays, it will play our completed callback here, and whatever's inside of here will play. So let's just print out a message just so we can visually see it when we go ahead and demonstrate it in the game. So we're going to do clux add debug message, and we're just going to say animation. Let's say animation complete, and this is perfect for doing whatever you need to do after the animation plays. So animation complete, we put the semicolon here, and now this will show when the animation is over. So let's go ahead and open up the game again, and let's go ahead and check it out, see what it looks like. So we're gonna go ahead and walk over here. Let's go ahead and walk into this area here, and there we go. We fall, we crawl back, we look at our hands, and what we're gonna look for is a message on the bottom left. So done, and then you can see animation complete or cutscene complete, whatever it is. So that worked properly. You can do whatever else you need to do here, whatever else you need to do there. If you need to know what the animation name was, you can always get it right here. So like if you need to print out the name, you can always just use as anim, put as anim here, and it will go ahead and print out the name of the animation, for example. So if you need to know the animation, you have it right here if you need it. So with that, we're done with that callback. Those are pretty much the majority of the functions that I wanted to talk about. If you needed to stop the animation that's playing, you can actually use the same one we used in the last episode, which is player body underscore stop animation. Then you put the name of the animation and you put a fade time, so a fade time of like 1.0 f or something like that, and this will stop that cutscene as well. So this is going to be used for the last episode and this one as well. So stop animation, you just copy the name here. I probably won't demonstrate this one here, but yeah, animation will play and then it'll just stop, and that's how you can stop an animation if you wanted to, but of course that's up to you however you want to use that. So now let's talk about the last function we're going to talk about for today, and it's going to be the play cutscene animation at entity, and it's going to share a lot of the same values from this one right here. So let's try to move through it pretty quickly. We're going to say player body underscore play cutscene, and the first one here, it says play cutscene at entity, and as you can see, a lot of the values are very similar. There is one additional one here for the entity name, and then there's also one removed here for the global space. There's no global space value here, and then instead of position and angle and everything, we have offsets here, so you can provide any offsets for the because the animation will play at the entity, but if you needed to offset the angle from what the entity is set to that you're playing the animation at, or the position of the entity, you can go ahead and do it here. And let's go ahead and show you guys the example. We're going to translate the same animation we have here into this function here. So first, it needs the animation name. I'm going to go ahead and just copy and paste that in a second. For now, we're just going to leave it blank. And then next is the entity that we're going to collide with. Again, I'm going to put quotations here, and we'll decide on which one that's going to be in a moment here. Next is going to be whether or not it should loop. We're going to say false. We do not want it to loop. And just like the last one, fade time, same thing as before, 0.3 f. Next is the name of the completed callback. We're going to use the same one we did up here, so I'm just going to leave this blank for a second. So leave that blank, and we'll do comma space. Next, the relative time position, what time you want to, or this is actually the speed. So this is going to be 1.0 f. We want to play it at normal speed, so we'll do 1.0 f. Then we'll do comma space. We'll start the animation at the very beginning, so we'll say 0.f. Next, you need a vector here for, and this actually indicates the position offset that we're going to be using. So if the entity is at a certain position and you want to play the enemy at that position, you want to play the cutscene at that position, or I think it's the enemy, I meant the entity. If we're going to play the animation at the entity, we can offset where we want the player to actually stand when we teleport them there or when we transfer them there. And if you wanted to offset it, you could put a vector here. And we'll talk about this in a moment. So let's just put a comma here just to kind of finish running through the rest of them. Next is the offset angle. The offset angle is your player will line itself up with the angle of the actual entity on the ground. We are going to, if we wanted to offset that and have the player look in a different direction, you can make them look 90 degrees more to the right or like 90 degrees more to the left or something. And I will show you guys an example of that in a moment. So for now, let's just put 0.0f just to indicate that we don't want anything here. Next is offset locally. So the offset is whether or not it should be local to the entity or if it should be just on the global space, pretty much. Should it be based on the coordinates of the map or should it be based on the coordinates or the direction that the entity is facing right now? This is, I believe, by default set to be false. Yeah, it's actually this is set to be true. This is going to be local to the entity, so we're going to set this to be true because that is the default. But if you wanted to use the grid coordinates rather than the entity coordinates, you can set that to be false. And then the next two is the same as the last one, fading the speed away. And if we want to ignore the yaw, we're going to set this both to false, which is their defaults. Both are going to be false. And then that wraps up the whole function. And again, you can go ahead and right click here, go to decoration, and you can see which ones are set to have a default value already. So same thing, you only need the fade time, the loop, the entity name, and the animation. The rest are optional, but of course, if there's anything there that you want to set manually, you want to go ahead and write out that whole function. So now let's go ahead and finish filling these in here. So let's go ahead and grab the name of our animation here, and we'll go ahead and paste it here. So let's go ahead and paste it there. I grabbed too much, or I guess I didn't copy it right. So let me go ahead and copy this again, and we'll put it there. Next, we'll go ahead and grab the completed callback here, put this here. So now we have to decide on what entity we want to play this animation on. So what we're going to do, and this is something that the devs do, so I kind of want to do it the way that they do. We'll go ahead and open up our level. What they do is they get a trigger area, right? And they place it wherever they want the animation to play. So let's put it right here, right? Then they raise it up a little bit off the ground here. So they'll play it a little bit up here. So just a little bit off the ground here. And now the animation we're going to play is going to play right at the center, right where it says area. That's where our animation is going to be placed. We defeat position in the last function. This is pretty much acting like the feet's position. This is where the animation will play. And they do give it a name, a convention name. So the name they use is POS area underscore, and then like whatever it's supposed to be. So this is going to be door scare. Pause area underscore door scare here. And we'll go ahead and copy that name now, and we'll go ahead and save the level editor here. And we're going to go ahead and put that as the entity we want to play the animation on. So the animation will play on this trigger area that we have in the level here. So now we can go ahead and launch up our game and give it a test run here. Actually, we needed the vector here, so let's talk about that as well. If you wanted to offset the player's position, you could do that. You can say C vector 3F parentheses, and if let's say you wanted the player to be, you know, 10 more, this is going to be at coordinates. It's going to be an X, Y, and a Z, X, Y, and Z here. So this could be negative and positive, and this will add on to whatever the position is for that entity here. So it's going to grab like the X from this entity that we specified, and then if you put like positive, like positive 20, it'll add 20 to this position's X, or if you put negative 20, it'll subtract 20 from this position's X. And you can specify whichever ones you want. If you actually don't want to modify this, you can just put this whole thing to be 0.0f, But again, this is your X, your Y, and the Z. If you wanted it to do nothing, technically you can also do 0, 0, and 0. If you wanted to change the Y, the Z, whatever, you could do it here. I'm just going to set this to 0.0f because we don't actually want to modify it. So you can actually use 0.0f here. And then finally, we're pretty much done with the function. So let's go ahead and check out our game here. So open it up, we'll hit F5 here, reload our game. So now let's take a look at what happens here. Our yaw should be set to the door here, or set to the default direction of the entity that we set at. So if we go ahead and restart again, you'll notice we're going to keep getting our view directed in a specific way. So if we go like sideways, you can see, boom, it pushes us in that direction, and it plays the animation in that direction. This is relative to, the yaw is here, in this case, the angle that we're looking at left and right is relative to the entity that we placed here, which is the trigger area. Obviously we can't see that, but it's relative to that. But as you can see, the animation kind of plays like right here, and we fall and we crawl backwards, and we kind of go through this table and everything. Not really what we want. We want to angle it a little bit more towards the door. So what we're going to do is we can change this offset value. So the offset value here, we can actually change a little bit of where the animation is going to play. So what we're going to do is this offset angle, this offset yaw, we're going to set it 30. I actually already know this one because I tested it out, but you can play around with it. Remember, there's negatives and positives. You can go in both directions up to 360 because it is a circle at the end of the day. And then let's go ahead and go back into our game and refresh it and check out what it looks like now. So again, I did test this beforehand, so I know that it works. We're looking in this direction. We did positive 30, which is 30 degrees to this direction, which kind of centers us with the door a little more. So let's go ahead and walk here. And you can see now we're actually lined up more with the door. We could even go another 5 degrees there if you wanted to, but of course that's all in your control. And the animation played and everything. So that's pretty much everything there. And that's everything we're going to talk about, at least in this episode today. We will go ahead and script a whole little event here in the next episode. Again, what I was thinking is going to be it's going to be the door. Player's going to walk up to the door. Door's going to blow open. Ghoul is going to be standing on the other side. The player's going to fall back, crawl backwards, and then this is where a chase kind of starts, and the player will start running away and hiding from the ghoul or whatever. So that is what we're going to try and accomplish in the next episode. So look forward to that, guys. This is pretty much it for this episode. That's how we can start using entities. We covered a lot in this one, but again, this is a very important topic, very fun topic. Definitely brings your custom stories to life. So definitely make sure you guys understand this and make sure everything works here. So with that, guys, I'm going to wrap up the episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Leave a like if you liked the video, and leave a comment if you have any questions or responses. Have a good one, guys. Bye.